Hi, I'm Diane Lacuse, and welcome to Book 101, a review of Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. One of her advocacy helping leaders to redefine success, elevate women's health, and embrace reinvention. And of course, a debut author and the author of the book Beyond the Ladder, no other than Miss Sabine Hutchison.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Daniel. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Miss Sabine, and thank you for being on Abstract Essay. And can you please introduce more about yourself? That I miss.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. As you said, I'm Sabine Hutchison. I have and I still wear a lot of hats, many hats. I'm a scientist. I do some training. Or a scientist by training. I'm a CEO by evolution. And I've learned firsthand that reinvention isn't a detour, that it's actually an excellent way to be on the path. My career has been a series of wild pivots. I've pivoted across countries, across industries, across titles. And it's as part of the path now that I'm on, I co-lead a consulting company, Seuss Plus. I've recently published Beyond the Ladder, a book and workbook. I've founded the Ripple Network. And I love telling stories and I love bringing voices to life.
Voices to life, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Sabine. Thank you. And today let's talk about your book. So the title Beyond the Ladder suggests the traditional corporate ladder is outdated model. What was the defining moment for a story and cemented the belief for you and made you decide this book needed to be written?
Yeah. I think there are a lot of smaller moments that led up. I didn't have this huge thunderbolt when I came up with the idea, but there are a lot of small steps along the way. And I do a lot of volunteer work also in women's associations to support equity and equality and to make sure that women's voices are heard. And through the years of volunteering and also working in training sessions, I always mentioned you need to have a career book. You need to have a place where you document your goals, your aspirations, your values. And I always referred to just a notebook. And after doing that so many times, I did have the idea. I was like, I think it would be a good idea if I could create a notebook or a book that actually stays with women throughout their career, not one that you fill up and then you put on the shelf and you forget about. So that was the significant idea about Beyond the Ladder. It actually started with the idea of a workbook, so a place where you can write about your dreams, write about people that you want to meet, write about everything, and keep that with you. So you don't put it on the shelf because your career is a constant evolution. So it should stay with you. So that was the initial idea.
And again, Mr. Bin, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and empowering women all over the world. For someone who has spent their whole career climbing the ladder, the idea of leaving it can be terrifying. How do you help people overcome the fear of abandoning a defined path for a more uncertain but potentially more fulfilling one?
Yeah, I think this idea of a ladder, and if you look at our lives, nothing is in one direction. And sometimes we can go up, sometimes we can go sideways, sometimes we go back. So for me, this idea of a ladder and associating it with your career, I really felt that it's something that we needed to rethink. And I wanted to step away from that because I wanted to embrace all the twists and turns that we take in our lives and in our careers. And to reinvent and rethink about how do we use these key moments in our lives to advance our careers, and how do we push ourselves, challenge ourselves. What are areas that we need to work on in order to do that? So not necessarily just to go up, but to use all the zigzaggy aspects of our lives to advance our careers. So that was the idea. I thought we have to get away from this ladder because we definitely don't just go up.
I like the way you say it. Zigzag. Miss Sabine.
Yeah.
You move beyond the ladder metaphor. What is the new metaphor or framework your people for a modern career, and why is it more empowering?
Yeah. I think it's embracing what we do and taking all the quirkiness. I think we all have aspects about ourselves, and we often hear that we need to adapt, we need to change, we need to do this better. We need this idea of perfection. And I'd like to get away from that idea, that we incorporate all of the aspects of ourselves, the areas that we potentially are stronger in, and to really enhance those, and to move forward without having this idea that something needs to be 100% perfect, to step onto a stage when you're not 100% sure that it's going to work, that you may have some mishaps, that you may say a lot of times, that you may feel uncomfortable and have shaky legs, but to take that and to pull energy into yourself and then to take that step. So I think it's about using everything around us in all aspects of our career to grow our career, and not necessarily to think that we have to fit into a mold from someone else or someone else's idea of what a career looks like, because there's lots of information out there that they're tick lists. If you want to be successful, you need to do this, this, and this. And I believe that there are other ways to look at that. It's about telling your story. It's about standing up for yourself. It's about advocating for others. That's also a way to develop your career. And it's not just about pushing yourself forward. It's about this legacy that we leave, and that legacy is in our everyday actions.
Yes, definitely building a legacy is something else.
Shopify's point of sale system helps you sell at every stage of your business. Need a fast and secure way to take payments in person? We've got you covered. How about card readers you can rely on anywhere you sell?
Thanks. Have a good one.
Yep, that too. Want one place to manage all your online and in-person sales? That's kind of our thing. Wherever you sell, businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 a month trial at shopify.com/listen. Shopify.com/listen.
People. So, Miss Sabine, the book argues that the latter is a myth, but for many it has yielded success. Corner
Mhm.
offices, titles, and financial rewards.
Mhm.
How do you respond to someone who says, the latter has just worked just fine for me?
Yeah. And potentially it has. And I think that that's the beauty of the book, and welcoming, and the chapters that I write about. It's about finding what works for you. Some individuals want and see themselves as successful, but they don't necessarily have the corner office. They've stayed in the same office, but they've grown in their knowledge. They've grown in that they've supported others to advance their careers. So I believe that it can work for some, that you use that metaphor and you climb, but it's not for everyone. And that's really the key message, is that there is something beyond that ladder, and it's about uncovering that piece for you and what works best for you, that you don't have to do what everyone else does.
Certainly, this book feels like it comes from a very personal place. Can you share a
Yeah.
story from your own career where you realized you were climbing the wrong ladder, and what did you about it?
That's a good question. I maybe that I took a career shift. So I was again on that theoretical ladder, and I was had some senior roles in business development in the life science industry, and I was approached by a company that was requesting me to take a title, what sounded more junior, and also a reduction in salary. So it wasn't necessarily another rung or a step up in the ladder. And I spent a lot of time reflecting, is this going to be the right decision? Because if I keep going, I'll make more money and maybe I'll get to that corner office. But to listen to myself and to listen to my intuition and to look at the company and go, okay, so if I take this quote step back, is that going to lend to even more success in the future potentially? So that was a place that I decided not to take the next step up. I actually took a step back to take 3 steps forward later.
Interesting, Miss Sabine. Beyond the ladder implies a focus on purpose and fulfillment over pure prestige. How do your definition of success have changed during the process of writing this book?
Yeah, I think I interviewed 36 women for the book, and I incorporated their stories into each chapter. And that was a very enlightening experience to speak to so many different women and to think about this idea of prestige and what does success look like. Everyone had a completely different experience of what success looked like for them. Some were measuring themselves to others, and that was actually having a more of a detrimental impact on them, that they were, through this constant comparison, they didn't feel confident and strong about where they were in their position. And to hear those stories was very impactful. And I think that was probably the biggest impact of writing the book, is actually listening to the stories and thinking that everyone has a career path, but how they get to their next step in their career is completely different, and that we can embrace that step regardless of which way it is.
Definitely embracing naturally. And what's the most common prison or limitation you see high achievers create for themselves by focusing solely on the next rung, and how can they break free from it?
Mhm. Yeah, one of the stories in the book talks about also being in the space that you're in. And if you're constantly just looking for the next step, you lose potentially a sense of where you are and what you can learn in the space that you're in. Because sometimes it's good to take a breath and to pause and to evaluate, is that the best next step for me, or is it potentially another one? And not taking that pause and celebrating where you are before making decisions on the next step in your career. So I think that reflection time, and that's what I've tried to build into the workbook that accompanies the book, is to take that time to reflect. Your values change. Your core values, I would say, probably stay the same, but the things change and your goals change as you evolve. So taking the time to reflect and to think about that before you're too quick in decisions about your career.
Miss Sabine, the journey beyond ladder can be lonely. How did you
Yeah.
build a support system or find community when you decided to step off the traditional path?
Yeah. There were times that it was very lonely, especially in the beginning when I started, because I've decided to self-publish. So I've published the book on my own. So I'm not working with an organization. So that makes it even a bit lonelier because you have to work through everything yourself.
Yes.
But the community that I built is I found a fabulous copy editor. I found someone that helped with my branding and pushing the concept of the book forward. I found there were a few friends that I could work with and talk to and brainstorm. And I had this amazing community of the women that I was interviewing for the book. So, and I had a great husband that would listen to my stories in the evening and walk through ideas with me. So I built a community for myself because I wasn't self-publishing. I had to create that community myself, and I searched out people that gave me the energy and the support that I needed.
That'd be awesome. Sabine, on a practical application and mindset, if
Mhm.
someone is feeling stuck but can't just quit their job tomorrow,
Mhm.
what is the first small practical step you recommend they take to start exploring what's beyond the ladder for them?
Mhm. For me, one of the most important first steps is to really look at your values. And there's an exercise in the book that focuses on that you really reflect on where are you? Where are you with your values right now? And does the company, the organization fit where you are? Does another department fit? But to look first at those values and really feel what's true to you. And then once you start to have these values clear, then you can start to look at other options, because that helps. You can start asking questions. Does this organization fit for me? Does it match the values that I have? Does this department fit for me and match the values that I have? So again, it's taking that time to reflect and think about that, and then start to look at your career. And there's a whole workbook full of exercises that can help guide you why you're in your current role, and evolve and reflect and speak to colleagues and to potentially speak to your manager. It depends on what type of relationship you have with them. But they're micro steps that you can take. And it doesn't have to be this lightning bolt of something that happens one day to the next. It can be an evolution, and to set time for yourself to make decisions about a shift in your career, I think, is also very important.
An evolution indeed, Miss Sabine. As an debut author, as a CEO, and any more hats, what are your short-term and
Mhm.
long-term goals?
Mm, my short-term goals are to share this story with so many people. One of the things is to remain curious and to ensure that the stories that are in the book are heard. So one of the short-term goals is that I'm interviewing and doing podcasts so those voices get out and more people hear them. So
Hmm.
that's very short-term about the women that I've interviewed. And the longer term is to continue to grow this, to combine it. I also have a platform that I developed, the Ripple Network, and to continue to expand and give women a space where they can work on their voices, they can grow their confidence, and they can become stronger leaders. They can become stronger colleagues. They can move into a CEO role if that's what they want, or stay where they are and feel good in that space. So I want to build an environment where women feel very confident in what they're doing. So that's a long-term goal. That's a very aspirational one. It feels very, it's not about selling a certain number of books, but it's about giving that space for women to grow and develop.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Sabine, and looking forward for more success. What would be
Yeah.
your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Oh, well, I'm a big fan of not being maybe like someone, but if they want to, um, I think one of the first things that I did is to start talking about things that I wanted to do. I think often we do have notebooks where we write our ideas or our goals down, but we don't say them out loud. So if I had one piece of advice, I would say what you want out loud to someone. And sometimes that first step of when I said, I'm going to write a book, it puts it out there, and it feels much differently saying it out loud to someone than reflecting on it or reading the words that you wrote or thinking it. So talk about what you want to do, because the more you talk about the things about your goals, changes that you want to make in your career, that can help open up doors and bring connections to people that could help you along the journey.
Definitely, and thank you for that advice, Miss Sabine. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Some books that have influenced my journey. Oh my goodness, there's one that I actually have right here that I'm just reading. So this is an interesting one that someone just gave me. Good Strategy, Bad Strategy. So this one is also very interesting, and the differences and why it matters. So that's a good read.
Thank you for that recommended book, Miss Sabine. So, what is the most important mindset shift someone needs to make to thrive in the world beyond the ladder, and why is it so crucial?
One of the biggest pieces is actually getting in tune with yourself and calming the noise around you, and finding what really feels good to you. I think that I worked with a coach in the past, and we talked a lot about like getting in tune also with your own intuition, because I talk about intuition in the book, and that can sometimes get lost in the doing. So take time. I think I've said that seems to be a red thread in this conversation today, is that it's about taking time and getting in tune with what you want and calming the noise around you and listening to your intuition. I would say that that's probably one of the biggest first steps that you can take.
Definitely know what is your passion is, people, and go for
And
it.
go for it.
Yes,
Yeah.
stop
And you can have a
procrastinating.
lot of them. That's
Mm-hmm.
interesting. That was one of the stories in the book as well, is that one of the ladies that I interviewed, Caroline Spinsick, she said sometimes she feels uncomfortable because she hears so often about a passion. You have to have a passion. And she said, I have lots of them.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's not fitting yourself into this outside world. You don't have to have one passion, and that's everything that you need to strive for. You can have a lot of them, and they can change. So again, it's stopping putting this pressure on yourself. And if you have lots of passions, you can work on a lot of them. You don't have to have one main passion to thrive in your career.
Definitely. And Miss Sabine, tell us, who did you write this book for? Is it for the delusionist executive, the ambitious new
Mm.
graduate, or for someone else entirely?
I wrote it I wanted the book to be something that anyone could use. It's not a book that you necessarily have to sit and read through from start to finish, but it's written in a way that you can tap into it wherever you are. So if you're starting out in your career and you haven't thought about your values, that's a great place to start. If you're looking at how to build a network, or if you need sponsorship and mentorship, that can also go for a mid-level career or a senior career. So the idea is that they're pieces for anyone in any area of their career.
Well, interesting. And thank you for your book. The book is a call to action. After finishing the last page, what is the one thing you hope readers do differently the very next day?
Mm. My last chapter in the book is about legacy. And I hope that individuals leave with a sense of that they're building their legacy every day, that it's not something that you have at the end of your career, but it's the way that you engage with people. It's the way that you show up in meetings. It's the way that you are respectful to other individuals. So I hope that they leave with this idea, and that they embed in their lives that they're leaving a legacy every day, and that that's something that they should be proud of and think about how they engage with others.
Yes, people, let's leave our legacy to the world because life is too short. So, Miss
Yeah.
Sabine, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my Abstract Essay is already in 5th season, Abstract Poetry in 2nd season, and my Book 101 review in 5th season too, Comedy 101 in 3rd season, as well as my Food 101 in 5th season, Geography 101, Love Letters, Music 101 review, Music 101 are in their 4th season, and my Science 101 and Sex 101 in its 2nd season, and of course my baby podcast Law 101, Mental Health 101, and Bible Verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Sabine, Beyond the Ladder feels like a manifesto as much as a guided book.
Yeah.
What is the change you are hoping to spark, not just in individual careers, but in
Mhm.
the wider world of work?
Yeah. I hope that companies start to open up and to also not talk about only thinking about building their employees on a ladder, that they start to welcome individuals who want to co-share positions, that it just opens up a different way of thinking, and that it allows leaders to come in and be where they are, and that that's accepted and encouraged within organizations. So it's for individuals, but also to maybe have a mind shift within companies as well.
Miss Sabine Hutchison, again, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world and
Thank
empowering
you.
women all over the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your debut book or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
I'm sorry, I could acoustically, I didn't hear that.
Yes, would you please invite our listeners to support your book itself?
Yes, absolutely. Yep, you can find the book on theripplenetwork.com or under sabinahutchison.com.
Yes, people support Miss Sabine Hutchinson because if you support her for sure, more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Miss Sabine, thank you
Yeah.
so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel, and thank you for supporting all of the authors that are out there in the world. Really appreciate it.
Definitely, this podcast is created for you, Miss Sabine, and for all the others out there. And more to come, people. See you soon.
With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 350 plus undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.